Hello, first time doing a video to show you different products. Today we're going to look at the Roland VRC01, and my goal is today to compare it with Switcher Studio and how it will work for both sports live streaming and or using in a church situation. That seems to be the big one for Switcher Studio users, is paying that monthly fee to use in place of worship. A lot of times now, Switcher Studio is being used for direct selling of different products. So without any regard to that, because the Roland VRC01 does not have any options for marketplace or store, that is a Switcher Studio thing. The Roland Aerocaster is $295 US dollars at the time of this video, and it's a one-time pay and it's yours. So what I've currently got set up is the unit is connected to the iPad that is looking at my face here, and we're calling that camera 1. And I'm allowed to have 5 different cameras set up, either through web, Android, which is a difference between the Switcher Studio that only allows an iOS device, whether it be a phone or a tablet iPad. This will allow the Android devices. So I have 5 different cameras set up. Camera 1 is the unit itself that the Aerocaster is connected to. To run the Aerocaster, you have to have it plugged into an iPad to give it power, and then that can be used as a video device. So I have the options, and you'll see this in the screen recording that I've got going on for ultra wide and front. I can zoom it. I've got exposure options, white balance, focus. I'm going to change my camera since I won't be in my camera. This is the actual Aerocaster itself. But then we can turn on an LED light. We can do stabilization options, different focus options as well. So when we look at the Aerocaster itself, and I know this is just a small screen, you have a lot of hand controls, which the Switcher Studio doesn't have. You have mic volumes 1 and 2, and those are set up with XLR combo jacks in the back. You have a line in and a main volume control as well. At the top, you have gain controls and a limiter. Same thing for mic 2. You have a loop back. You have a headset onboard mic, which is on the side of the Aerocaster, which is nice. So your little Xbox headphone mic combo 3.5 millimeter jack could go in there, and you can use that as a microphone, which is a nice little add-on because a lot of people don't have XLR mics. You have direct monitoring, echo cancel, and an auto leveler. Over here you have reverb. Sorry, my hand's getting in the way. Top knob there is reverb, and the big one is the lip sync delay. I'll try to get out of all the camera views here. That's an important one because as I'm talking, when my words are actually coming out, there's a huge delay. So if I monitor this with a direct monitor, it's not going to sound good in my ears at all, and I'll be talking over myself. So there's about a full 1 second, maybe 1.5 second delay of the true voice that's coming out compared to how I am seeing it on screen. I'm actually recording myself through the Rodecaster Pro, and that's the Rodecaster Pro 1, and I will do post-production and sync this up just so I know I've got proper audio and not getting multiple audios in. I currently have, if I click the audio here that you'll see me push, the audio is set to turn off at this point. So I am muted at this point. If I unmute it, you will see in a moment here, maybe. I'm not seeing it yet. But anyway, normally the little audio bands will pop up at the top, very top center of the screen.
Keep that off for now because that's how we started it.
Anyway,
and there it popped on.
Because that's how we started it. And there it popped on. And now we're going to remute it. So at some point, one of those cameras showed it was muted, but I had muted it. I'm noticing on those buttons, as much as I didn't show it was muted, it was muted. I unmuted it and then muted it back again. I noticed that earlier with stabilization. I had shut it off and shut it back on, and those buttons seem to stick in the wrong position. So that might be a little bug that's happening. So this is camera 1. Camera 2 is the Roland Aerocaster itself. They give you a USB-C to lightning plug. I don't understand that. I don't know if they're thinking people are going to be recording with an iPhone, but most iPads do have the USB-C, so I did convert that to use with my iPad 11 2nd Gen. Why they didn't give you a USB-C to USB-C as well, it's just, $5 they could have come up with that would have made this a little easier. Camera 3 is currently set up behind me, and we're going to come back to this in a minute. This is actually an external display computer monitor. What I'm finding on this Roland up in the settings, I'm going to show you that, and we'll come back to that in a minute. Camera 4 is the Android device camera. So I have that set up in the window, looking outside to the lake. You'll see a little bit of graininess from the actual screen of the window. Again, if I go to click the camera and I go to an ultra zoom, you'll really see those little squares of the screen coming in. So I can again choose between fronts as well. So without getting a picture of the family, I'll keep it on the rear-facing camera, and that is my wife's Samsung S20 Ultra, which you'll see kind of pop up above the lens, zoom, and exposure there to tell you what camera. I do have a 5th camera set up, but if we go back to the Aerocaster, it only shows 4 camera options to choose from. So I don't know why they give you kind of 5 on screen as options, even when only like 4 is connected. It'll give you a cam 5 as something you can connect. Why they didn't add in a 5th button here, again, things that I just don't know. So on screen, I'm going to tap camera 5, and that is actually just one I'm holding on to here. So I'm going to face that, not at me, hopefully, but we'll face that actually at the screen I'm taking a picture of, just to show again that we do have 5 cameras. So this is an iPhone 7 Plus. So again, a little older iPhone, working just fine. Same options as far as being able to do zooms, exposures, white balances, all on screen, which is really nice. There is that external monitor I was talking about. So if we look and we tap on the settings icon to the right of the current screen, actually it's going to be the upload icon. This is our different live stream options. For recording, we can enable local recording into the program. We can set our bit rates, and you can record each satellite camera. So that's kind of a nice option there. Actually, I'll keep it on camera 5 for you in case you're not seeing this. And I will do a little bit of a zoom. A little delay on the zooms. That's a little tough, but I've noticed that in Switcher Studio as well. So when we go back in here, recording, we can have each of these individual cameras or satellite cameras, phones, whatever they be, record as well while you're recording. So if for some reason you're doing a volleyball match later, you have it on you have it zoomed into the actual court itself, and something happens off to the side, and one of those cameras may have picked it up, so you could push it back together. Diving play where the player slides into a bench, you could piece that back together later with the satellite recordings. I don't have it enabled that you want to transfer the recorded file. I would just keep it in there, and that's going to create a lot of delay, and they'll kind of talk about that here as well. The big one here, the HDMI output source. I'm going to go back to the Rodecaster here real quick, and then on screen you're going to see it there. I just want to put this extra phone down. You have output HDMI source. You can either choose the program or the preview. So currently I have program set, and it's only available for an iPad with a USB-C connector. So I have an Anchor USB-C port that allows USB 3.0, and that's going to allow your Roland Aerocaster to get power. It has a USB-C, so I can add external power, so I can keep my iPad charged. And then a second USB-C which is going to the Roland Aerocaster. Um, and then I have an HDMI. And the HDMI then is going to my external computer, which if we go back to this here, that is what is being sent that way now. So if I send that and I change the camera, excuse me, that is looking at that external picture there. If I make changes inside of the unit itself, it'll change what you see on screen. So, so ultimately being able to pull in the HDMI, you can have another person with you viewing what is happening as a program. So that's nice. On my actual iPad, I have it set to direct program. That's in the middle. If I take that off, and then you will have your preview on the left side with your live program on the right. So if I click camera 1, I'm going to be in preview mode, and on the right is the live mode. And if I now click camera 1 again, now it's going to come over to the live side. So we're going to go back to program directly. They also give you on the Aerocaster, we'll bring this up, there's the option for picture-in-pictures. There's 4 different options. So if we do number 1, that gives me and the Aerocaster. I have a black border going around that picture-in-picture, small picture-in-picture. I can change that color, change that width, do a lot of different things there. I can also go in and edit on screen where you have the different scenes there, and I can edit that by holding it. I can edit it, and I can make that bigger if I want, and I can move it anywhere I want. So we'll just move it down a little bit so it's not in the way, and so now it's changed immediately for you. If we do picture-in-picture 2, I did not put a border on this one just to kind of show you. And again, there's that external monitor that is showing you. So right now that is set up. So if I go back into my settings, HDMI, we're going to go back to the program. It's actually taking a screenshot somehow of my camera right now. Earlier that was setting up. So normally, yeah, for some reason that is not connecting directly. There's an error there. So earlier it was showing exactly what camera. If I put it on camera 1, the whole screen would fill up with camera 1. Right now it is just doing the standard HDMI process that an iPad does, which is just doing a screen share. So you're just seeing a larger version of it. So if we show that, you'll see what I'm talking about there. So that appears to be another bug. So again, that should just be camera 1 in the entire picture of my external monitor. So that's a bug, but when it works, that will be a good thing. So maybe you set it up and don't make all those changes once you've started. Picture-in-picture 3, I like this one. So this one's an evenly spaced picture-in-picture. But split screen 2, you can actually slide that over a little bit. So you can adjust your camera just on somebody's face. So if we take this one a minute, I could, just put my face in there if I get it going the right way here. And we adjust the camera, slide it over to the presenter, but then we keep a PowerPoint on the bigger side of that screen. So I can go as large or as thin as I want there. That's a nice little add-on that I know YOLObox Live or the YOLObox Pro just added. So a couple good features here as a switcher. The best part of this, my goal with this is I like having hands-free. When I was using Switcher Studio in order to make sporting events, I was constantly looking down at the screen, and as much as there's a tiny little picture of the action that's going on, I was missing all of my daughter's volleyball. So I switched apps, and this gives you very quick access. I can feel this with my finger without looking at it. I know this is camera 1, down here, and I can push it. Camera 2, camera 3, camera 4. Again, if we are using 5 cameras, which we're probably not going to do, yes, I'd have to do that on the setup. Or I'm sure I could set up a different scene potentially with just that camera. Some of the things this can't do, there's no scoreboard overlay, and that kind of rules me out for sporting events. I'm big on having a scoreboard overlay. Switcher Studio does provide that. An option that kind of came to me later, I could set up camera 2 instead of like it is on the Aerocaster here. I could have that going right up on the scoreboard at the gym. So basketball, you don't have to worry about time then. In hockey, you wouldn't have to worry about keeping track of the power play time that's left. It would be all on screen, and then you could set that up in a picture-in-picture as well, and zoom it in, crop it to the size you want, and put it up in the corner and have that just a running clock so people can always see the active score, active time. With volleyball, there's no time, but soccer, there's time, and so having that second camera just as the scoreboard is an option. Places of worship, you're not spending the $50 is the basic plan for Switcher Studio per month. Never ending. Yes, there's some good updates there. There's a lot of great things you can do. The Aerocaster is a one-time payment, again, at the time of this video, $295. If we look on screen here, another thing that we're able to do is we've got the export movie. I did put a movie in here. So if I click that, this is just something I made for volleyball. I used it originally in Switcher Studio, and so you can do little overlays or previews, introductions. It does not automatically kick back to your live feed, so you do have to hit camera 1 to bring it back. You can put in your sponsorships if it's sports. You can use that as an overlay even if you have to. I've got a team logo here, and then I can add a bunch of other things, images from photo, videos from photos, sound files, image files, are things that they give you an option for. On the scenes, I don't like how it's all in kind of one row, but you can slide it over, so you do have some overlays. Let's go back to camera 1. So we have the green screen, maybe there, a little tough there. You have the green screen kind of background here, but if we hit the overlay there, same thing with the GI bins. If we want it to be separate, we can bring them on at the same time. I can remove this one. I can create, excuse me, let me get rid of that. I can create a four picture in picture overlay. So as much as I don't have a button on it, I've already exhausted the 4 that I had on my Aerocaster here. I don't have any more here. Excuse me, here. I'm able to create them in the scenes. I click that, and now I've got all 4 pop up. I've got a live icon that can come up. I could also, down the road, maybe they'll add replay. That's something that ScoreCam has. Not only an amazing scoreboard that pops up for live streaming, they do have a small instant replay feature that if Switcher Studio added that, that would be a game changer. If Aerocaster added that, maybe that's an SE1 option or SE2 option. I feel like there's different things they've got here. They could really make that a much better product. So to kind of recap here, having the multiple cameras without cords is fantastic. I don't really understand a YOLO Box Pro unless you're in the house like I am right now. Everything's close. I could run all these cords and it's not a big deal. For any type of sports and really churches, having all these cords floating around, it creates tripping hazards and liabilities. And with this, the Switcher Studio, yes, you run into issues with internet. Sporting events, I couldn't live stream anything this year because carriers limit the unlimited, and they only allow certain and so much when it comes to hotspots and tethering and that sort of thing. So I really, to be able to use multiple cameras, live streaming is nearly impossible, but an easy recording, you can very quickly upload it to YouTube or the streaming channel of your choice afterwards, really isn't a problem. the ability to have this right in front of you to make those quick changes. There is no power cord. It goes right to your iPad. I think that's a fantastic ad. For a church, to me, this is a no-brainer. I see these churches dropping so much money on items. It makes me wonder what we're truly giving to. I get it. You need to have something for your folks at home can watch, especially when COVID was here. But when we're dropping, ATEM Mini Extremes and ATEM Mini ISOs with $4,000 cameras, PTZ cameras, and the church only has 50 people. I'm starting to question, what's going on. If you're a mega church, this isn't for you. You've got that extra income to be able to make it that production, something that's majestic. I think you can get a good production here. I think it's clean. You've got the audio delay. I could run this through a Rodecaster Pro. I just did not for this exercise. I plan to, again, cut the audio and paste it back in just to see where the delay falls. Not a big deal. This gives you a ton of options. For football, you could have a camera, looking at the left end zone, right end zone. You got the one set up in the middle. You can, again, bring in a web device. So any of these cameras that have web access, which a lot of them do now, these camcorders, you're going to be able to do that as well. So you're going to get a high-end camera. You can make the adjustments either on screen, or you could have that person standing out there, focusing down on the field. And he can be right next to you. I think this is a legit option, putting a little camera up in the corner for your scoreboard like we talked about, dropping it in as a picture-in-picture, narrowing it down to where you want it. It's fantastic. ScoreCam, the other sports option that is out there, does give you the option to pause your recording. So if you're not live streaming, that's fantastic. It saves you, time, so you're not having to keep this thing running during a halftime. You can pause it in between quarters, your halftime. It's still a great opportunity to run your advertisements at that point. But all in all, when it comes to a worship setup, I would take the Roland Aerocaster in a heartbeat, knowing it's got the HDMI out for programming. Yes, it appears to have a little bit of bugs, but that's the first time as I set this up to do this review, I actually noticed that and didn't even realize it was there because I hadn't used that before. But I had been thinking of that as an option. You could probably tag this back in then. With that being said, you could have that probably go out to a the instant replay device that the Roland offers. If you got an extra, $2,500 to $3,500 sitting out there, you could tag team this up with that. Give yourself instant replay, and then run that HDMI back from your external monitor back, out to a program option to send that. So a lot of different options. So for churches, Aerocaster, for sure, I wouldn't hesitate for a second. If it came to sports between these two, the Switcher Studio is going to give you the live scoring overlay. It also works with the DJI mobile gimbal for your iPhones, and that's a nice little option. Again, a little slow on the rotations, but it would do it. That might be nice for a football field setup where you can kind of follow the action a little better. When it comes to sports, ScoreCam is still my go-to. You can pause it. You've got instant replay. You've got the scoreboard overlay. Unfortunately, it's just one camera. Volleyball, basketball, that might work fine. Football, it just won't. Soccer, it won't. So I hope that helps kind of dive into the Aerocaster a little more. There's a lot of different things you can do, from the transitions. You can, get your simple cut, mix, wipe. I know the Switcher Studio just added a bunch more. You can pull in comments from your live stream and do responses that way. You could probably have your Bluetooth keyboard set up on your iPad and, quickly, type in some responses there. Again, you have some audio options there. I, again, have this muted for this purpose. And if you do bring in different cameras, so if I delete camera 5 for a minute, I do have 5. No, see, there's the plus for camera 5. I can add in a web browser or PC. Again, there's the iPhone 7 Plus that's still not set up yet. That's kind of in waiting. So there's a lot of different options there. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment field. I'll try to answer the best I can. This is a very inexpensive way you could actually do a podcast. You could set it up with your 4 different folks in a room, cameras on each person. Your one master person running the board here. You may not even have to do anything more. Just leave it like it is. What other device can do that doesn't have a monthly fee that it's a one-time fee? ATEM Mini maybe, but this also gives you the option of live streaming it as well. So it's all set up. You could run your Roadcaster Pro, either 1 or 2, as the audio. Again, this does give you 2 XLR options. You could probably then have a third with the microphone, like we talked about, the Xbox microphone. You may even be able to peel that off, one of those XLRs, into some sort of splitter if you want to add in the 4th. But yeah, so you could very easily run an inexpensive podcast studio, being able to have all 4 people on screen if you have 4 people. Of course, you could do the picture-in-picture 2 people if you wanted. You could use the one person, a solo podcast. Either you're in the corner or you're as the main screen. In the corner, you have your different news media that you want to add. So many different options there that you could have done. So hopefully that helps. We're going to close this out. And again, thanks for watching my first tutorial here. And a little long-winded, but that's how you get better. Appreciate it.